Hello, everybody. Today we're going to take an updated look at the 2024 Republican primary. Yesterday was for the Democrats. Today will be for the GOP. Had a lot of candidates get into the race over the last few months, including Ron DeSantis. So let's see where things are at. Here is a Newsweek article I will scroll through, but there's not really any bombshells in here. Donald Trump is the clear frontrunner. His position has only strengthened since the beginning of the year and after the midterms. Even though there's definitely been plenty of scandals, some legal troubles, Trump is dominating the field. DeSantis has always been the backup choice, and now that he recently declared his candidacy, it hasn't really helped him thus far. So this talks about Trump leading in South Carolina, but there's polls where he's pretty much leading in every state, California, even in Florida, and most of the time he's leading by a massive margin. It's not just 4 or 5 points. We're talking about 20 or 30 points most of the time. Here's a quote here from Trump about the DeSantis launch. Wow, the DeSantis Twitter launch is a disaster. His whole campaign will be a disaster. I know there's a feud now between Trump and DeSantis, but I think when they're not direct competitors, they're going to be both highly supportive of one another. It might get a little ugly for a little while, but I think after it's all over, and it's likely DeSantis loses, I think he's still going to completely get behind Donald Trump and give him his full endorsement. Now here's another article on 538, and this is a little bit more interesting. It talks about how the most conservative voters now are the most pro-Trump, and that kind of changed from back in 2016. And not surprising, pro-impeachment Republicans, they're viewed as more liberal. But what is surprising is on several issues, Donald Trump is not the most conservative candidate. He's not as hard on abortion. He sounds more populist on Social Security and Medicare. That should help him a little bit more in the general election. But in a lot of ways, he seems like the least conservative candidate, at least on the traditional Republican values of pro-life, pro-balanced budget, fiscal responsibility, the war in Ukraine, reining in entitlements, etc. Now, maybe Trump isn't serious about it, and I'm sure in some other ways he would be viewed as more conservative than the rest of the field, probably on immigration, and certainly on something like shaking up the establishment. I think that does go a long way to having Trump's image be viewed as very or the most conservative. So you can take a look at some more data down here below if you'd like. But let's move on to the declared Republican candidates on Wikipedia. And here they are. There's a bunch of them now. Of course, Ron DeSantis, he just got into this thing. And then we have Larry Elder, Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Tim Scott. Now, all these candidates are going to have, of course, some appeal to Republican primary voters. But after Trump, there's a gap. Then you have DeSantis, and then there's another big gap, and you're already down to the bottom tier. I don't want to disparage some of these candidates, but Trump does suck all of the oxygen out of the room. And when there's no Trump, DeSantis, he's going to do similar. He's already very well known. These other candidates, they have their own strengths and weaknesses, but there's just not enough energy behind them to make a serious effort at winning this nomination. Asa Hutchinson, I think, has the worst chance out of all these candidates. I don't know why he's in this thing. I don't think he's vying for any kind of vice presidential spot, maybe a cabinet position, but even that might be a stretch. These other candidates, I could see them getting in on the cabinet. Maybe Trump tries to add Haley or Tim Scott for vice president. But either way, those are the major declared candidates. But down here we have some announcements pending. We have Chris Christie, Doug Burgum, and Mike Pence. Now, Chris Christie, everybody knows who he is. He was a little bit of Trump before Trump, and I don't really think he's that weak of a candidate. Of course, everybody is going to be a little bit weak compared to Trump. If Christie is going to run and come out swinging and go against Trump, that's a massive gamble. I don't think it's going to work at this point. Trump just has such a tight grip on this nomination that Christie is likely to end up embarrassing himself, but you never know. Let's see what he does. Doug Burgum, I have no idea why Doug Burgum would want to run. Nobody knows who he is. Similar to Asa Hutchinson, it's hard to imagine him polling higher than 0%. And Mike Pence, I don't know what lane he's going to run in. We already have the other establishment candidates. Pence is extremely boring. He's not going to shake up the system. I don't think Pence has any chance. Down here we have some decisions pending. I would think Chris Sununu is not going to run. Plenty more potential candidates down here. John Bolton, Rick Perry, Liz Cheney, Ted Cruz, Glenn Youngkin. Of all these candidates, probably Glenn Youngkin would be the strongest, but he's already governor of Virginia, seems to be relatively popular. I think he would be better off running for the Senate in the future, or maybe doing something in 2028, but I think him running now would be a complete waste. Then we have all the declined to be candidates here. That's always fun to take a look at the people that nobody cares about that aren't running. And then down here we have a debate section. First primary is going to be in Milwaukee in August, hosted by Fox News. We don't know if Trump is going to participate. He has a huge lead. He might not want to jeopardize that. My opinion is I'm pro-debate. I think he should participate. I think voters want to see him. They want to see his energy. They want to see him go after all the other candidates like he did in 2016. They want to hear some of his ideas for the future. So not debating. Personally, I think it's a bad move. I get why he would do it, but we'll see if he actually follows through with it. Then we have an endorsement page. You can click on that, take a look at all those if you'd like. I'm not going to go through it here. And that takes us to the polling. So here it is, the nationwide polling in the aggregate. Right now on Real Clear Politics, Donald Trump has almost a 31% lead. At 538, it's over 33%. So we're looking at about a 32% combined lead. Trump around the mid-50s. DeSantis, he's in the low 20s. Then it's way down from there. Everybody else is under 5%. Still 10% other or undecided. But the individual polls, Trump, he's in the 50s on most of these. A couple he dips down to the 40s. A couple of them he's in the 60s. But the most recent one, since Ron DeSantis declared, 56 for Trump, 22 for DeSantis, and that's pretty much everything right there. Trump more than doubled DeSantis. He has a majority of the vote, and it's not just one poll, it's basically poll after poll. The best state for DeSantis is probably going to be Florida. There's a poll there that showed it about even. In the past, DeSantis has led some of these, but going forward, we have to see if DeSantis can cut into that Trump margin at all, or if he's just going to implode and bow out of this primary. Now, I did listen to the DeSantis launch video with Elon Musk. I get that there were some technical difficulties. It was an unusual venue, but I don't think it was the massive disaster I heard it made out to be. It was a little shaky, but campaign announcements or launches, usually nobody's going to really be talking about him more than a week later. So it's pretty much Trump all the way. He's coming out and attacking DeSantis, and that's what he's going to do when he's in competition with him. Again, after the fact, I think it'll pretty much be water under the bridge, but we have to see what happens, especially if they face off in any debates. So you could take a look at some of the polls for the individual states, but let's do one more thing. Let's switch over to Predict It and see where people are putting their money. And Donald Trump is at 59 cents. DeSantis, he's at 33. Tim Scott is in third at 7 cents. Pence in fourth, and then down from there. So that's the state of this Republican primary. Nothing has seemed to be able to take down Donald Trump. Indictments, arrests, scandals. But the big caveat to that is that's just for a GOP primary. In the general election, it could be a different story, and we could take a look at that in another video, but it's tough right now to see how Trump does not win this nomination. Maybe he has a health issue that flares up, maybe another indictment comes down, maybe Chris Christie gets into this race, and him and DeSantis are able to strategically take him down. There's a bunch of fringe possibilities. Trump is just so dominant, his personality is just so powerful, that it's very unlikely he does not become the Republican nominee. Things can always change, but right now it would be a pretty big upset if it's not Trump. DeSantis, he's going to really have to get donors coming in. He's going to have to get some big endorsements and get the establishment behind him, while also not appearing to be too pro-establishment himself. That's going to be a tough path to walk. We'll see what he does, but let me know in the comments, what do you think about this 2024 Republican primary? Any chance it's not Donald Trump? Can any of these other candidates make a move? Could DeSantis join Trump on the ticket? Is that a possibility? Will Trump be in any of the debates? Let me know your thoughts down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.